Um, Hi, Tom. Are you with me? Can you hear me?
I am, Ted. Glad to be with you.
Okay, great. The Your petition and your convention has taken the country and the world by storm. And perhaps you can comment a bit on your background and leading up to the creation of this website and your podcast we're going to listen to. Give me some background.
All right. Well, I'm a typical American small businessman. We've been in business for 42 years, and I was totally apolitical, Ted. I had no interest in politics. All I did is vote, didn't donate, wasn't interested, just cared about my company, my family, my employees, my customers, and minded my own business. The only time I ever broke from that was in the year 2000 when the Bush-Clinton, election took place. That was
Right.
so disputed, and I put a Bush sign in my yard, and that's the only thing I did. And then, when 2008 came around and Barack Obama was running against John McCain, we were very concerned about the policies that Barack Obama would bring to the United States. I mean, they accused us of racism, but it had nothing to do with race. It had to do with ideology. And quite frankly, Barack Obama is a trained Marxist. He taught Rules for Radicals, a very important book in the liberal left's, efforts to win the fight against us.
Let me just cut you off there for a moment because I have a bit of a tale to tell.
Right.
I've been blogging for 16 years, focused on America and Israel. And when Obama came on the scene, I focused so much attention on Obama, his background, his birth certificate, you name it, I knew it. Yeah. And I didn't like him, and I knew his Marxism, and I knew how he was connected to Islam and whatever. And when a certain beautiful young lady from Alaska ended up being the vice president nominee, Sarah Palin, I went bonkers. She was fabulous, and I was a big supporter of her.
That speech she made was historic. I mean, she literally, like that, turned an election around. And then what happened? The McCain staff, right?
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that.
Right.
So we share a certain root.
Involvement was birthed. After that election, I wrote emails to my friends. I said, I think it shows that we're a great nation, that we're not racist. I hope Barack Obama is the greatest president in history, and we're going to support him. And then within a month of his being inaugurated, he started doing these incredibly insane things like, Obamacare and the bailouts of the car companies and the stimulus plan that didn't stimulate anything.
And Solyndra.
To union members, right? Yeah. And Ted, you'll appreciate this, and I think your audience will. So what was a tipping point for me? I had a guy from the Wall Street Journal ask me many years ago why I got involved with the Tea Party. And I said, well, I'm a small businessman, and I understand that contracts are fundamental to business. And when they were bailing out the car companies, President Obama literally named the bondholders by name and called them horrible names because they were in the first position in a bankruptcy to get their money back.
And he started shifting priorities, as I recall it.
He canceled their contracts.
Yeah.
And so as soon as he canceled their contracts, I was like, well, that means he can cancel my contracts. And if contracts aren't protected by law, then we aren't a country at all. And that was when I said, we got to do something about this guy. And I got involved with the Tea Party movement. And so I spent 11 years with the Tea Party movement. As your listeners will know, I'm the president of the We the People Convention and the executive director of the Portage County Tea Party, one of the largest Tea Party groups in the country. And basically, we really got involved with the fight against, universal health care, which again is socialism, which again is a control factor. And so what happened? Well, I was the lead plaintiff in the IRS targeting of the Tea Party groups. I was the president of a thing called the Ohio Liberty Coalition.
Right.
And I got the letters from the Obama IRS wanting to know, how much money do we have? Who are our members? What groups are part of our group? What are their federal ID numbers? We want copies of every meeting you ever held, everyone ever talked to you, every page on your website. We want to know everyone that you've ever had politically come and speak to you. And I knew what it was. It was opposition research, because President Obama was coming up for re-election, and in 2010, the Tea Party saved America, literally saved America, when we elected 64 House members to stop Obama from having the House, the Senate, and the White House, after which America couldn't have survived.
Sarah Palin had a very big role in giving her support for all kinds of people. So we owe her a debt. That's my view.
Right.
Now, Thomas, you haven't introduced yourself in terms of your name.
In 2012. And so what he did is he sicked the IRS on us.
Yeah.
And I was the lead plaintiff. We fought them for 6 years. I was the lead plaintiff in 2 cases. We won both federal cases. We won $3.2 million in settlement. Okay. Yeah. And we fought them. Okay. But then, Donald Trump came along, and if you recall, Ted, you study American politics, you know.
Yeah.
Donald Trump was running. Our governor in Ohio was John Kasich. No Donald Trump fan be he, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
We're trying, and no president's going to win, no Republican's going to win the presidency if they don't win Ohio. So literally, the Ohio Republican Party was undermining Trump in Ohio. Literally, they would not allow signs to go out. They would not let people go door to door. So I, as the head of the Ohio Tea Party movement, through the We the People Convention, we joined forces with the NRA. And I told the NRA, if you will give us the technology we need, the materials to take door to door, the iPads to do the door knocking, the phone calling capability, I will recruit the volunteers and we'll elect Donald Trump. And that's how Donald Trump won Ohio in 2016. And then we just did it again. So you're talking about the person.
So you're a veteran now. You're a veteran of political warfare.
In the United States.
Yeah. Sorry. Carry on. So give it your full name and where you are today. And then I'll play your podcast.
My full name is Tom Zawistowski, and I am the president of We the People Convention. And our office is located in Akron, Ohio, which is just south of Cleveland, Ohio, in the heart of the country. You
know what they used to tell us, that who wins Ohio and Florida will win the election.
Yeah, and I think they did again this year.
Used to be. It used to be.
Still is. Still is.
Okay.
The last time Ohio wasn't right was in 1960 when they cheated to elect John Kennedy. Ohio has never been wrong.
Okay, let's come back to this press release. Do you want to say where was this ad? Where did it appear? And when?
So basically, we've been working for a solution to figure out how do we get a fair vote. And I did a lot of praying. I did a lot of thinking. And it started coming to me that what we needed to do is have a fair vote, but who would we trust to do that? And the only group that I could think of that we trust was the military. So what we decided to do is run a full page ad in the Washington Times this Tuesday, December 1st, where we asked President Trump to declare limited martial law for the sole purpose of having the U.S. military oversee a free and fair revote of all federal elections in the United States. So we're not saying President Trump's going to have tanks.
Wait, we're going to cover this in your podcast. So let me just interrupt there for a minute, okay? Yep. And say this ad appeared on the 1st of December. Yes. And the 2nd of December, you did a podcast bringing everybody up to date. And I'm going to play that podcast now, and then we'll have a discussion.
Okay.
Hello, and welcome to this special edition of We the People Convention News and Opinion podcast. My name is Tom Zawistowski, and I'm doing today's podcast. It is on Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020, because I want to talk to you about the ad that we ran in the Washington Times that you all got to read yesterday that has made such a huge splash in the country. We have had literally 500,000 people come to our website to read this. I've been getting messages and notes from all over the country to comment on this, and we were really helped after the release, after the ad was printed in the Washington Times is a full-page ad. We were helped when Lynn Wood, the attorney who's been helping President Trump in Georgia and has really represented a lot of people like the Covington kids and the young man that's been charged in Wisconsin for shooting some people when he was actually defending himself. And so Lynn Wood tweeted this out, and it just blew up our system. We have had tens of thousands of people sign the petition on the WeThePeopleConvention.org website. And then late last night, General Mike Flynn also tweeted out about our press release and said, "Freedom never kneels except to God." And we thank General Flynn for his support of our action. I've obviously had a lot of emails, phone calls, and text messages from all over the world about our ad, and I want to talk about some of the things that people are missing and put it in better perspective for you. What was important about our ad is that we are proposing what I think is the very best solution to the crisis our country is in. And in our ad, we compared the extraordinary executive orders that President Lincoln used in the Civil War to keep the Union together and, in fact, save our nation. We would have been two nations. There would have been no United States of America if the South had won and if President Lincoln had not done the things that he had done, which were very rough things. I mean, I spell it out in the ad. We talk about the fact that he suspended habeas corpus, that he arrested newspaper editors and owners and because they were not supporting the war. He arrested people in Maryland for being Southern sympathizers and did not give them the right of habeas corpus, did not give them the right to defend themselves. For years, they were locked up in prison. He arrested an Ohio congressman for speaking out against him. And I drew that comparison about Lincoln because President Obama and the left say he's the best president ever. Well, okay, so if he was able to take these extraordinary actions to save the Union, we basically are making the case that we are indeed in as dire a straits here in the United States with an imminent civil war about to happen. And, I talk about in the ad about Antifa and Black Lives Matter, in our cities, literally conducting, military operations, attacking federal buildings, attacking policemen, but just attacking innocent Americans who are eating in restaurants, punching people in the back of the head in cowardly, attacks to intimidate people who question their anti-American agenda. And then I talked about how the Democratic Socialists in those cities are letting it happen, and there's no rule of law. And now we have, people in the federal government, these Democratic, self-stated Democrats, socialists, who now want to destroy the Constitution after 100 years of trying, right? This is what civil war is. They're trying to destroy our country. They want to pack the court, so that the court can make law from the bench and get rid of the legislature. They want to get rid of the filibuster. They want to get rid of states' rights by getting rid of the Electoral College so that it's a quote-unquote a majority vote, which means that most of the people in this country would have no voice. California and New York would decide everything. That's not what we have. We have a representative republic, and now the left has gone so far as to try to steal this presidential election to get the ultimate power they need to impose socialism on us and basically end the country as we know it. So our answer was to ask President Trump to use the extraordinary powers of the presidency, which have been done, by the way, 68 times. Martial law has been declared 68 times by presidents in our history. And what we're suggesting that President Trump do is something that's very, very reasonable. And yet people are calling me and saying, "You're nuts, declaring martial law. You're crazy." See, but what I'm talking about here and what we put in our ad is we're asking the president to temporarily impose martial law for the sole purpose of having the military conduct a fair election. That's all we're asking. So there's not tanks in the streets, and we're not saying use the military to install Donald Trump as president. We say specifically that we want a fair election, and the president has to agree with whatever that vote comes out with. So this is not any guarantee for the president that he's going to be made the president. This is where Donald Trump shows real leadership. if he will do this, if he will declare martial law for the sole purpose of having the military conduct a new election. And the reason for that is because the military is the last institution left that we can trust in this country. We can't trust the political class or the courts. They've already demonstrated they're not living within the law. So we're asking the president to do this. And he will be acting like Lincoln to preserve the Union, to prevent civil war, and like Washington, who walked away after the Revolutionary War when they wanted to make him king and said, no, I'm done. I respect the fact that we're going to have a government that's elected by the people. And Donald Trump is basically, we're saying, have this martial law imposed so that we can have a fair election without political party bosses and all the lawsuits intended to make fraud legal and to just ruin the election. Have the military do it in a way we can all agree on. What is that way? Paper ballots, right? Vote in person. Have to have a photo ID, have to be registered. Both parties watch each vote. It's hand counted, no computers, okay? It's safe. You're 6 feet apart. You can wear a mask, just like we did in Ohio. It's safe. And at the end of the day, we know who won. And whoever wins will be the legitimate president of the United States. And then we can build from there and try to restore trust in our institutions. This is compared to what is imminent, compared to the civil war that we think is imminent, doing this is benign. It's not irrational. It's constitutional. People are calling me and saying, this is, you're going outside the Constitution. Martial law is in the Constitution. It's allowed. The president is allowed to declare martial law. They've done it 68 times. You know what's not within the Constitution? Yeah, how about a criminal conspiracy to rig a federal election? That's not in the Constitution. That's extra constitutional, right? How about destroying machines, wiping machines, shredding ballots, destroying evidence? Yeah, that's not in the Constitution either, okay? So what we're asking is reasonable. We're asking President Trump to save the republic, because if he doesn't take this action, we the people are going to have to take this action in a way that no one wants us to do. And again, I don't like this business of we're going through the courts and the 12th Amendment. Now, I say in the release that the president should, if the courts and the legislators will not follow the Constitution, he should immediately declare martial law and hold a free and fair election under the supervision of the media. That's what I'm saying. But I'm telling you, all this stuff going through the courts is nonsense. It's not going to prove anything. It's just opinions. And it could go either way. I feel like Rudy Giuliani and these guys are standing before King George, begging them to just, throw us a bone. Okay, those votes can be thrown out. Those can't. It's no way to hold an election. And I say in the ad that we ran, let me read this quote. I think it's a very important quote. It says, "We the people must not and will not cede our exclusive constitutional right to elect our representatives to judges, lawyers, courts, governors, secretaries of state, Congress, corrupt election officials, and local politicians, the corrupt media, or leftist threats of violence. We will not cede our right to elect our representatives to those people. It is our exclusive right to decide our representatives and not theirs. Therefore, we the people demand a new and fair national vote, a vote that all Americans can trust and live by, regardless of the winner." That's what we say. That's what we must have. Because in a representative republic, folks, if we can't vote for our representatives, you don't have a country. How many of you listening to this podcast will ever vote again after this fiasco if we let this cheating and fraud go on? And for those of you who say there's no fraud, there's no cheating, yeah, all you have to do is go to our website, to the page that says, "See the evidence of voter fraud from all over the United States" on this page. Every day we update it with the new videos and new stories documenting fraud. And if you just watch those hearings in Pennsylvania, in Arizona, or Wisconsin, or Michigan, where the people testified, where our fellow citizens swore on an affidavit that what they were saying is true, any American would be embarrassed by what they were saying. That's not an election. That's a theft. That's bullying. That's criminal activity, despite what AG Barr just said. And you can't get this all figured out in the courts. The only way forward is through a national revote. And the best way to do that is to declare martial law to suspend the Constitution temporarily so we don't have all these deadlines hanging over us. And then you say the military's got to put this together. They can do it in a couple of weeks. I mean, folks, what kind of a vote is going to be? In most places, you'll have two questions. Who's your presidential choice? Who's your congressional choice? In some places, there might be a Senate choice. In some places, you might have two congressmen. But it's going to be like a 4-question vote. You can do that really fast. You can do that on paper ballots, and we want them to do that. Now, I've been getting letters from all over the world. People just thrilled that I'm suggesting that the president take this action. And I want to read this letter to you. My name is Mario Moreira. I am Brazilian, and I read the statement by you translated into Portuguese, originally published in English in the Washington Times newspaper. I want to express my admiration and support for your initiative in defending the Republican ideals of this great nation, which is the United States of America, which I admire and have always admired since my youth. Whenever someone on the left tries in some way to denigrate the image of the USA, I tell them that it is thanks to the efforts of this great country that everyone is not speaking German today. A way of saying that were it not for the courageous and brave efforts of the American army, the world would have been under the yoke of Nazism for a long time. I hope that you really commit yourself to the defense of the Republican ideals of the USA, even if, dramatically, the defenders of these ideals have to defend them by force, by weapons, by civil war if necessary. I have been following the recent events when the maddening mob simulated by the communist socialists of the Democratic Party, anti-patriots, big tech and the press are destroying public and private assets, criminally attacking good people, whether young or old, just for being white or Republican or against their ideas, for not agreeing with their insane ideology. If I could, I would be there beside you and the good Americans to fight for this good and noble cause. Mario Moreira. My fellow patriots, you're trying to tell me that when our fathers and forefathers, the great American soldiers who went and died in Europe to defeat Nazism, who died in the Pacific defeating the Imperial Japanese, who fought in Korea and in Vietnam, you're telling me that us declaring temporary martial law to have the military who swore an oath to defend and protect the Constitution, to have them put on a fair election is extreme, is ridiculous, is out of the question when we've had to have hundreds of thousands of our fathers and forefathers and grandfathers die in the field of battle to defend liberty, and we won't declare martial law to have a fair vote? And I'm the extremist? When martial law has been used 68 times? When they swore an oath in the military to defend the Constitution? And what's more important than defending the vote, the right to vote? That's extreme? I don't think so. I think it's the right answer. You know why? Because it's the only objective answer. Because you hold this vote, and it's that simple. Paper ballots, everybody votes in person, voter ID, we're witnessing it. The military is there to make sure no thugs are there to bully and intimidate people. We're going to know who wins or loses. We need to know who wins or loses. That's objective. What's happening in these courts is subjective. Do they believe it or not? There's people talking about there's no evidence when you and I think there's so much evidence it's unbelievable. We must do this. I need you to help get this done. I'll speak directly to you, President Trump. I'm speaking to you. This isn't about you. This is about us. This is about our republic. But more importantly, like this letter, it's about the world. I'm watching the Japanese on One American News being interviewed and how frightened they are that if President Trump doesn't win, that the Chinese are going to destroy Japan. We're talking about freedom around the world, President Trump. And as I said in our ad, you are required, you swore an oath to protect and defend the Constitution, and you have the power to do it. And we're asking you to do it because it's the right thing to do. And it doesn't matter what the left says. It doesn't matter what the Rhino Republicans would say. It doesn't matter what the media says. None of that matters, President Trump. What matters is that you do your duty. What matters is that you defend our vote and our republic, and then we'll see if you are elected president or not. That's what we're saying. Declare martial law temporarily for the sole purpose of having the military oversee a truly free and fair election. I'm asking all of you watching this video to call the White House at 202-456-1111, 202-456-1111, or go to whitehouse.gov/contacts, whitehouse.gov/contacts. You can message the president, say, I want a free revote, a free and fair revote of the federal election in all states, and I want the military to oversee it. And I want you to write and call your congressman and demand the same thing, because I want to know what the real vote count is in our country. I want to know how big the left is and how big the right is. And this is the objective way to find that out. Then there'll be no question. So if you still think this is wrong and radical, I'd like to hear from you. Go to wethepeopleconvention.org. You can see our phone number, our email. Let us know. But I think we have proposed the right solution, because the left is going to go nuts if the courts overturn this. We're going to go nuts if they don't overturn it. You got to solve that problem. And the answer is to have a fair election. And that's what we're proposing. And I hope you'll go to wethepeopleconvention.org and read the ad again. If you haven't done so, you can click on the ad at wethepeopleconvention.org, read the press release, click on the image of the ad. You can download your own PDF, read it, understand it, share it, talk to your fellow citizens, and get them to join us. Okay? I appreciate you joining me today. I appreciate you listening to my explanation of what we're trying to do. And I appreciate you caring enough about our country to educate yourself and to then take action to protect and defend our liberty, our freedom, and our individual prosperity. You've been listening to the We the People Convention News and Opinion podcast. My name again is Tom Zawistowski.
Well, love your passion, Tom, but I'm going to surprise you. And I'm going to surprise you to say I think you're a moderate. Independent of you and independent of your movement, I have been mulling over the same issue of martial law, and I wrote an article maybe 2 days ago, maybe 3 days ago, which I put on the screen, and I want to tell you how I differ from you. I start out in the article, first of all, it's titled, Will President Trump Declare Martial Law? So I'm right into this issue, and we don't know, and you don't know, and so I started with that. And I mentioned the fact that he's on two tracks. He's trying to get the legislature, state legislatures to approve, and failing that, he's trying to get a ruling from the Supremes. Now, opinion is divided as to whether he'll succeed. Many people think it's a lost cause. So I made this proposition. I said, if he fails on both counts, I suggest he'll declare a national emergency relying on the Insurrection Act, and will do so before Biden's inauguration, and if needs be, before his certification, to avoid Biden having any legitimacy. He might have to do it that soon, and we know that's like less than 2 weeks away. Now, so that was the first thing, and I was prepared to say it's conditional on whether he can become president without that step. That was my only moderate moment. And then I should point out, and you didn't mention this, that in September 12th, 2018, he already declared made an executive order under the Insurrection Act, which reads that the ability of persons located in whole or in substantial part outside the United States to interfere in or undermine public confidence in the United States elections constitutes an unusual and extraordinary threat to national security. That was done 2 years ago. So he's already declared by executive order the right to move under that act. But he didn't do martial law yet. And if he goes that way, he can, the Insurrection Act provides that where it is lawful for the President of the United States to call forth the militia for the purpose of suppressing such insurrection or of causing the laws of the duly elected, et cetera, et cetera. So those are the conditions when he can bring in martial law. Now, if he brings in martial law, he has far more rights than what you suggest he should execute, namely just hold a new vote. If martial law is introduced, the First and Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution could be suspended, which cover freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, free press freedom, and the right to bear arms. U.S. citizens can also face court-martials under such a measure. Now, when I say you're the moderate, I think to myself that the Republicans, and specifically Donald Trump, President Trump, has been suffering under this cabal and conspiracy on behalf of the Democrats and big tech and the media to do everything they can to delegitimize the president. And we're sitting here saying, where's the DOJ? Where's the FBI? Where are all the different things that are supposed to happen and hold people accountable? And it drives me nuts. And I'm not even an American citizen. Originally, I hailed from Canada and I moved to Israel, where I'm happy to be. And we love Trump, and Trump has done a great deal for us, as he has for America. So anyways, in my mind, if he were to declare the martial law, he should close down the mainstream media and prevent them from their lies and their propaganda and their attacking him, and close down the high tech because they're not cooperating and they're affecting freedom of speech. So we're all equal. And I feel he should go that far. And then I think he should go further. When somebody tries to overthrow a dictator or a normal elected government, once they declare martial law, then everybody gets arrested that they can think of. And all these people who've been causing all the problem and been breaking American law should be put in prison without the right of habeas corpus. And then we can sort things out. And the people who are treasonous should be tried in military court. And we have to do it right to once and for all end the abuse that Trump and the American people and the Republicans are exposed to. And I think it's an opportunity to finally drain the swamp. So I put on the table basically that he should go all the way with this and do the job right. I might mention one other thing you didn't particularly comment on. There's it's not just Trump that was affected by this fraud. There are so many important senators, senator would-bes, and congressmen who are undermined by the same lawlessness and fraud to prevent them from winning the election. And we have to do justice by them too, in that if their loss was caused by the same tactics that Trump's loss was caused by, your solution certainly makes it possible for them to succeed. So those are some of my thoughts, and maybe you might comment on and tell me I'm going too far.
So what you just described is what usually happens in, communist countries, socialist countries. Whoever called martial law to have a fair election, right? When people declare martial law, it's usually to overthrow a fair election and install a dictator. So while I agree with you on the seriousness and the deep corruption within our government particularly, but in our media and our country, I mean, we fully understand that. What an international audience, which is what I assume, watches your podcast, needs to understand is that in America, we follow the law. So when you're talking about locking up all these people and just locking up everyone that they don't like, that sounds like the left here in the US, where they're keeping lists of Trump people and we're going to make sure they can never get employed and all that. Well, their list isn't of people who committed crimes. Their list of people they just disagree with ideologically. We're not interested in that. We believe in free speech. We believe in free debate. So here's my answer to your question. Number one, if you want a civil war, the fastest way to do it would be to declare martial law, like you just said. If you want to prevent a civil war, what you do is you hold a free and fair election. And quite frankly, I'm very confident that Donald Trump would win that election. And then guess what? We use our courts to appoint special prosecutors. Like, how about Sidney Powell to be appointed as a special prosecutor to investigate voter fraud? How would that be? And we basically can do all the things that you want to do, but do it in a lawful manner and still keep our society going. So Ted, my only disagreement with you is that what you're proposing is completely unacceptable to Americans. And what I'm proposing, they're having a little hard time dealing with, but at least I'm able to convince them that this is a logical step before we have to start shooting each other. Because in a civil society, if you don't give people a vote, they seek other means to address their concerns. That's where we're at today with gun sales in the United States just blowing up. And 40% of the gun sales are from first-time gun owners who are afraid of BLM and Antifa and want to defend their families and their properties. This is how bad it is. So when I say in my article in our ad that civil war may be imminent unless Donald Trump acts, what's important is for Trump to act like Lincoln and like Washington. Like Lincoln, who suspended habeas corpus, arrested people, and did everything he could under the powers given to him as the president to preserve the Union. We're asking Trump to be like Lincoln, declare martial law, suspend the Constitution. Why is it important? Why is it important to have martial law and suspend the Constitution? Because you know how it works in the United States. If Trump said we're going to have a revote and the military's going to oversee it, but you don't declare martial law, the next day there'd be 700 lawsuits filed by Democrats all over the country to argue against, to fight it, to hear it. You can't have that. You declare martial law. You say the military is going to oversee a fair vote. The president acts like Washington. And he doesn't say, they're not doing this to install me as president. You, the people, I'm doing this to protect the people's right to vote, because if we are in a representative republic and we don't have the right to elect our representatives, we don't have a republic. There is no United States.
Well, let me come in there if I can.
He's doing it legally, and he's doing it in a way that the American people can accept, and all the goals you speak of can be achieved through that.
Well, here's my reaction to that. First of all, we are in agreement about martial law and a new election, totally. But when you look at the problem of only a problem of electing having a fair election to elect the president, I look at it further. Treason has been committed. This is a coup. The people who are planned this coup have to be treated as treasonously. They have to be tried in military court. This is a serious, serious crime, and I don't think it should be overlooked. and simply look at, let's get him elected.
I think we should overlook it either, and they should have been tried 2 years ago.
Correct.
And that's a serious problem. We're going to have almost like the McCarthy hearings, right? Where you're going to look at the communist influence within our country. I mean, let's cut right to the chase, Ted. This is all about China. All right, go on our website at wethepeopleconvention.org. There's a whole section that talks about how the Chinese government is funding Black Lives Matter, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, the would-be vice president. Her husband's firm has communist Chinese on the payroll, and they represent China to do business deals in Western countries.
And you haven't mentioned COVID-19.
His cabinet has ties to China. So yes, we're in World War III, Ted. We're in World War III right now. The problem is we haven't been fighting it, just the Chinese have. That's why the coronavirus, that's why the Chinese virus, this is all warfare. But the American people need to act in a certain way if you don't want to have bloodshed. That's my goal, and I think we can achieve all of your goals, including try those people with treason. Bill Barr said himself before the election that people should be looked at for sedition. It is sedition. On my podcast, I have a thing that says everyone who identifies themselves as a communist, Marxist, or socialist, would they self-identify, or if on their Twitter or social media they align with these groups, they need to either be deported or charged with sedition, because they cannot stay here. They're not Americans, and they're trying to undermine our country. So I feel the same as you do. I'm just trying to get at it in a way that's more palatable to the American people.
Well, you said a lot of things there that make you the extremist and me the moderate. You'll allow me to indicate I don't exclude people because they're socialists or because they're communists, but I do if they are conspiring and they're seditious and they're treasonous. That's the dividing line. You're entitled to think as you wish and have your own political philosophy, but it's a conspiracy in the attempt to overthrow the government. Now, we have waited 4 years.
Why is there a Communist Party USA, which on their website, they talk about basically wanting to destroy the US government? Why does that exist? There's a line between free speech.
Yes.
And I got news for you. No, you can read about communism all you want, but as soon as you have a meeting with another person to talk about acting on it, you need to be deported or charged with sedition.
Look at Black Lives Matter as a case in point. They believe in overthrowing the system.
They
and
say
Marxism.
Right on their website, right? By any means necessary, Ted. By any means necessary. So yes, we are for everyone listening to your podcast, literally the United States could be gone in 2 weeks. Literally, we could cease to exist. And when that happens, the light will go out in the world. Israel will be indefensible. These people are not interested in helping Israel. They're not interested in helping the Western world. And so why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I fighting? Because Ted, if President Trump doesn't do what we say, then the next step is probably going to be for us to call for a work stoppage. What's probably going to happen is we, the people, are going to say, we're not asking you to have a revote. We're telling you to have a revote. And so if you don't listen to us, we're going to stop delivering your food, your gas, your oil, your anything you need to survive on. We're going to withhold that until you do what we tell you, because this government was formed by the consent of the governed. They think they rule over us. It is high time for Americans to remember our founding and make it clear to them that they work for us and will do what we say. We don't do what they say. And then if we do a work stoppage and that doesn't start, well, then we're going to have war. And once we have war, the Chinese and the Russians and the Iranians will take advantage of it. So once we're distracted and we're killing each other, they'll invade Taiwan, they'll do something like that, and now we're going to have World War III. So
all right, let me wrap it up.
What I'm going to do is pretty good idea to avoid World War III.
Right. Let me wrap it up by pointing something out. I don't like the idea of we're going to stop delivering. I think that's sort of impotent. It's not aggressive. It is passive in a way.
With color revolutions in Eastern Europe and in South America, the only way to defeat what we are having done to us right now is through a popular uprising. That's the only thing that's ever worked.
Well, what I was going to say is that even if it's limited, we can't count on the FBI, we can't count on the CIA, we can't count on the Department of Justice. That's why we need martial law to clean this up, I believe. And it doesn't mean we have to arrest thousands. We can arrest the top 20 or 30. The people in mainstream media who are all locked in together, the CEOs, high tech, everybody who's breaking our law. And we can focus on them and we'll have control and it'll be easier to do. And my bottom line in writing, my article, by the way, has been sent to Levine and to President Trump. Maybe they will respond. Doesn't matter, as long as we end up with martial law, your style or my style, that's what I care. And one of the things that I pointed out at the bottom of my article, that allowing Biden to become vice president is the worst possible thing you can do. And if the only way to stop that is martial law, you must declare martial law, is how I see it. It's allowing them to a false Biden and a fraudulent election to destroy America. President Trump has an obligation to prevent it. And that's my position, and I think it's your position too.
It is, and I'm glad you said that in your letter, and I think that's exactly the point I tried to make. I said, President Trump, you swore an oath. You swore an oath, and you are required to do this. This isn't a choice. This isn't something you can think about. His job is to preserve the union, whatever that takes. And so I'm with you. If it takes full-out martial law, then that's what it takes. But we've got to do that because the United States will cease to exist if he doesn't do that, just like it would have ceased to exist if Lincoln didn't have the courage to actually fight and defeat the South. If he would have just, sued for peace and there would have been two countries, all of history would have been changed forever. So this is the time for choosing. President Trump, you need to do your duty. You need to protect and defend the Constitution and the American people. And I think he will.
I think he will too. Absolutely. So it's been a pleasure. Good luck to you.
Thanks,
good luck
Ted.
to me. And hopefully we can work together to create good things.
Yes, let's look forward to a brighter future where this evil and this illegality is gone, where we return to a rule of law and to the principles that undergird the whole idea of the United States. That's what we're really fighting for here, is a return to the rule of law and people actually in elected office doing the job they were elected for. That's the future that I see for America. And if that happens, the rest of the world will benefit immensely.
Amen. God bless America.
Thanks, Ted. Thank you. And God bless Israel as well.
Thank you.